We are recording to the cloud. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Robbos Gobcast Sports Show, the Reading FC version of the podcast. I'm back again for a Monday review. Obviously, we're doing this. We've pretty much done this. The game's finished, and I've pretty much sent the link to David, and we're on right now. So this is instant reaction, totally instant. Other days done it at 7, but yes, I'm back with David again. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm good.
Good. So Reading won, QPR won. I mean, in the end, I think a lot of us will be thankful that we've taken a 1-1 draw out of that game after the late onslaught from QPR. But I said to you guys, I think it was last Saturday against Nottingham Forest, that I thought it was a point gained. Today, I think it was 2 points lost. I think we had to capitalise on. I think, as far as I'm aware, Barnsley have lost. Well, last time I checked, anyway, against Sheffield Wednesday, and obviously, I think Millwall had won against Middlesbrough. So I think if those results have stayed the same, then we've gained a point on them teams. But at the end of the day, we've got a really tough fixture list coming up after the international break, and you're thinking, oh God, are we going to drop out the playoffs? Hopefully not, but we'll soon see on that one. I think the fact that we're playing some of the better teams in the league could pay dividends for us, because we always seem to kind of raise our game, especially against Bournemouth at home. That comes to mind anyway. But let's go back a bit. Let's come back to the present day, or 2 p.m. anyway. We found out that Andy Yiadom and Tom McIntyre were out with an injury, and reported by Jonathan Lowe. And I was just like, for God's sake, not another 2 injuries. I mean, I've mentioned this before on the podcast about how we seem to be adversely affected by injuries every single season. And I know that it's a more compact fixture list this season, but I don't know. I just feel like I think everyone but 5 players have been injured at some point this season. I know it's Simon from Tireless Enders rounded it all up and put it in a graphic for us. And yeah, there's about 5 players that have been injured. So what did you think of the lineup when it came out, and what did you think of the injuries to Yiadom and McIntyre? Do you think it was a massive blow, or did you think we would still get the win?
I thought it was really frustrating hearing that, that we were going to be without them too. I thought we'd probably still have enough to get the win, but obviously it's just so frustrating. We seem to get a couple of injuries back and we lose 2 more. It's every week seems to be somebody going off injured or not available to play, and it's just so frustrating as a fan, and it's just it's all I can really say on that, really. It's just so frustrating.
I mean, it's not like Brentford away, is it, where we've had like 9 players out injured? It's just so frustrating because, as you said, we seem to get players back and then another couple of players get injured, and that's, even though we have less players injured now, it's still so disruptive to the squad, because you're thinking, right, those are 2 players who probably would have played today. Maybe not McIntyre, Yiadom would have started again today, and it's just so disruptive to the plans. And obviously, we didn't know about any possible injuries to McIntyre and Holmes, McIntyre and Yiadom before today. So It's a massively, massively frustrating one. But what did you think of the lineup overall then when it came out at 2? I was going to say 2 a.m. then, 2 p.m.
Yeah, I was reasonably happy. Obviously with those injuries that were reported up before, it was still a reasonably strong lineup. Mate came in. I think he's been on fire since coming back, actually, with his goals, and I think his presence going forward would have been vital. And obviously, a slight change of shape at the start as well. But I was still reasonably happy. I was just gutted for the 2 for Yiadom and McIntyre, really.
I think there was like one major positive, and then there was 2 kind of negatives in a way, because the negatives were the fact that obviously our back line wasn't what it would be, ideally, especially with Holmes going at right back. We know that he's not a right back, but he does a job there, I guess. But we want him ideally in the centre. And then you've got Michael Morrison, who's still out, who would have been a leading presence in there. And then you look at the subs bench as well, because obviously we've got the injuries now. And I guess this season, and maybe this is a kind of a good thing that we managed to get a load of players out last summer. But you can tell, even if we have a few injuries, you can tell there are kind of weaknesses on the bench. There's a lack of experience, which could be a decent thing in terms of making sure our wages aren't too high and that sort of thing, and looking at the club more in general and financially. But obviously it's a massive source of frustration. But the one positive for me was that the front six, having Laurent Rinomota together once again, I think they're strong together. Ajaria, Elise, Meite out on the wing, providing that different threat. I thought he was threatening and got another goal today, so that's fantastic. And then Lucas Shaw up front, I wouldn't have been too upset to see him not start today, but I wouldn't have been, I wasn't upset to see him start. So it's one of those where I didn't mind either way. But obviously he hasn't really been himself, even though he got a goal against his former side in Sheffield Wednesday. But that hasn't really helped too much. But 3 o'clock soon came, and we started really well for the first few minutes. I mean, we started off really well, and then we kind of tailed off a bit. I mean, do you know the reasoning behind that? It just we started so well, and then we just kind of tailed off quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a tough one to really know, really. I know it was from the beginning, we sort of got out the traps a little bit quite fast and put the pressure on, and getting down the wings and stuff and putting pressure on their defense. But then all of a sudden it just changed, and then we were on the back foot, and it was like within a matter of minutes it's turned round. And to be fair to QPR, they played some decent stuff. But it's difficult, really.
Yeah, they look like a decent championship side. I think that's all you can really say about that one. They just look pretty decent. Whereas sometimes we've come up against some quite poor teams, but you could tell that we'd have quite a challenge today. Do you think 12th is? Do you think QPR deserve 12th? Do you think they deserve to be higher or lower? Or do you think they're 12th? You could look at it and say, yeah, they're 12th, definitely.
Yeah, I think they're a decent side, but obviously consistency has been a bit of a problem for them this season. Like, they've had some good results. They've beaten some decent teams and that. But obviously they've had, on the other side of it, they've had results where they could have done better, and they've obviously dropped points. And I think that's probably what's done them this year, because I know Charlie Austin came in January, and he's always been a decent championship goal scorer and striker and that. So on that basis, I would say they're probably fair to be in the middle. But if they were more consistent, I could see them challenging for the playoffs.
Maybe it'd be a similar story to us if we hadn't won so many games at the start of the season. Maybe we'd be in a similar kind of position on that one, but we'd have to wait and see, and see what the the people who do statistics say, basically. And but Elise had a fantastic chance even after QPR got back into it and really settled into the game. Elise had a chance, and I think at half time a lot of people kind of blaming Elise for missing that chance. And we're obviously 1-0 down at half time. We'll go on to speak about their goal in a minute. But for me, I mean, we had some half chances where it could have fallen for us, but I still think we needed to create more clear-cut chances. It's the story of the last month or two, really, isn't it? And maybe not just the last month or two, but maybe that's why the XG people keep on going on about it. It's because we're not creating too much of it. And I mean, I don't like listening to the people who go on about XG, but maybe they have a bit of a point on that. But we needed to create more clear-cut chances. Obviously, he should have scored, and I'm not going to take away from that, but we needed to create more and make sure that we were 1 or 2-0 up, but that's the way that it goes sometimes. We'll talk about QPR's goal just before half time and the role that Holmes played in it. I mean, I'm struggling with this one.
Yeah.
Could we really blame Holmes? I mean, he seemed a bit flat-footed, but I mean, would you have expected really a centre midfielder or a centre back to then kind of challenge the guy who crossed the ball in? I mean, because obviously Holmes wasn't in too much of a bad position, but obviously, one pass through and he's taken completely out of the game. Obviously, he seemed flat-footed, but I think QPR player would have got to it regardless. Really, I mean, take us to that goal. I mean, what do you think? What do you think happened? And I know we don't want to blame anyone in particular, but now, who was really to blame for that one, for that goal?
I think I don't know, there seemed to be so much space behind home.
Yeah.
When that ball went through, there was no one sort of covering behind, expecting that ball to happen.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody could have sort of gone behind Holmes, sort of not just expecting it to go into the box, expecting that sort of thread through the through ball as well. So there's an option if he gets past Holmes, there's somebody there protecting it. Okay, it's easier said in hindsight now, but I felt personally somebody could have got behind Holmes and sort of given, I forget who it was, but the guy who latched on to cross it in, somebody could have given him a bit more of a something more to do than just to latch onto the ball, a bit more of a problem.
I've got a bit of a question for you then. I know this is really hypothetical, but do you think that goal happens if Michael Morrison starts and is on the pitch at that time?
If I'm honest, I think he'd be there. I think
for me, he'd either be there or he would have been shouting at Laurent or Rinomota to get back.
Yeah. I did feel Moore was a bit quiet at times today. I'm not saying he's not a great leader or anything like that. He's been, he's been quite good for us this year at times and that. But I think maybe he should have been a bit more sort of a bit louder and sort of giving it a bit more for the young, because obviously it's a younger defense. But I personally feel if Morrison was on, I think he would have been urging on someone to get behind and anticipating what could happen.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Michael Morrison was captain of Birmingham City, not so long ago. So you got that extra leader on the pitch with Moore, and that's basically the perfect kind of partnership in terms of leading. So yeah, I mean, perhaps it wouldn't have happened in the first place if Morrison had been on the pitch, but he's not there, so we can't really say much more than that. Obviously, it's a shame that he's still injured, along with John Swift and Felipe Aruna, and obviously Andy Yiadom and Tom McIntyre have kind of joined them in the treatment room at this moment in time, because we've literally just come on here, literally just after the game. We don't have an update on Yiadom or McIntyre, but you guys will probably know a bit more on Monday, and obviously we'll know more by then about how they are. But obviously the international break is coming up, so unless it's anything kind of severe, then it shouldn't have too much of an impact. I'm hoping not anyway. So half time comes around then, because that goal was scored literally just before half time. It's a massive blow for us, really, isn't it? So what were you thinking then from a fan's perspective at half time? What needed to change? what would you have done, if you were the manager?
I think sort of need to sort of tell the defence to sort of try and tighten up a bit more, close them down.
We look vulnerable at the back.
We did, extremely vulnerable, and that was concerning.
Throughout the whole game.
Yeah, exactly. Throughout the whole game, I was a nervous wreck. And I know more was in there, but I think it was hard sometimes because they did look quite, like you say, vulnerable and like we were going to concede. And obviously they got the goal before half time, sucker blow, going forward, pretty much try and do the same, which obviously we got the goal from and that, but I think defensively we needed to do more.
I think wise we needed to do more as well, because someone in my group chat said that Zhao was non-existent in the first half. He said at half time. And I don't think I could really disagree too much with that. I mean, I didn't notice Lucas Zhao a lot. Obviously, he nearly latched onto a chance in the first half, but other than that, he didn't do very much, to be honest. But again, we didn't create too much. I mean, we did create slightly more than we did against Birmingham, but we just weren't fully at it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like with Zhao as well, there were times, obviously, when he tried to sort of control the ball and it just didn't stick with him. It just sort of, he lost control, and then it's hard then to get the ball back because there's one of their players onto it. And I think he was better in the second half, but yeah, in the first half, I did feel nothing seemed to just stay with him, really.
Second half started then, and we started off a lot better, I think, than we ended the half anyway. I mean, it couldn't get much worse. Obviously, we conceded, but Ovia Jaria, fantastic bit of skill in the box. Unbelievable how he managed to keep hold on to the ball.
Yeah.
He's come across to Yaku Mete finally. He's hit the ball. Not sure if the keeper should be doing better there, but he's obviously palmed the ball out into the path of Liam Moore, who's converted offside. We didn't get to see a real replay really on iFollow, or a useful replay anyway. So I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I'd like to see if there were any sort of camera angle around social media, just because I couldn't believe it when he went in and knocked it in. I thought for sure it was a goal.
Yeah.
And it's like he's turned around and looked at the linesman and he's put his flag up. And
they didn't really protest too much. That's the strange thing for me.
Yeah.
Because for me, it wasn't really clear, but I would like to have a replay of that, definitely. As you said, I would like to see another angle of it, because my betting is that he's actually onside. I don't know why. I just have that horrible feeling that it's onside and the referee's the linesman's put his flag up.
Yeah.
But we did manage to get back into it. We did fantastically, and thankfully as well. The Andy Rinamoto, I think it was Andy Rinamoto, who hit that ball down the field. Yaku Mete still had a lot to do up against Rob Dickey, but it was for once it was a great first touch by Yaku Mete. Got it out of his, he chested it down and kind of got it out of his feet quite well, and then he's turned Dickey with a little flick. And I mean, should the goalkeeper be doing better there? I mean, what did you think of the goal just in general, and then the goalkeeper's role in it?
Yeah, I thought it was great strength from Mete to sort of basically stand him off, get in front of the goal, in goal side, and obviously just to slot it past the keeper. Obviously, okay, it bobbled over the line. It's sort of like, I thought not the greatest of goals, but a massive goal, obviously, for our season as a whole, I think. Because if we'd have lost that game, it would have been disastrous.
Yeah.
Thinking of obviously Barnsley losing, Middlesbrough losing. If we had not at least got a point, which is bad enough, because obviously 3 would have been crucial. But if we'd have not even got that point, it would have been, well, it sounds stupid, but even worse, and added more pressure on going into the international break. Goalkeeper wise, I think he should have done better.
It's gone through his legs, isn't it, really?
Exactly. He just sort of nipped it through his legs, and like I say, it just bobbled over the line. And that, so yes, he should be doing a lot better, but I'm so thankful he didn't. And so yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on that, really.
So we actually did quite well after that. We kind of carried on in the same vein, if you like. And Lucas João's chance, it reminds me of Fernando Torres against Manchester United at Old Trafford, where he's taken it past the goalkeeper and then he just hasn't got his feet in the right place and has put it wide. And poor Lucas João probably needs another goal to kind of boost his confidence again, and
he does.
And he's missed it. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be 50-50, isn't it? Some people are going to be on the side of João because he hasn't got his feet in the right place and it's like a difficult kind of angle and that. And other people are going to be saying it's an open goal, you should be scoring that. And obviously that's the beauty of the game. It's bad enough for goalkeepers, but if you're a striker and you miss an open goal, you're going to be just as criticised for it. So
yeah, exactly.
Do you think he should have put it away, or do you have sympathy for him? What are your thoughts on that?
I do have sympathy for him because I know obviously he's going through that sort of tough time at the minute, and he's not on song at the minute, or not especially not what he's capable of. I think yes, it looked easier to score, but like I said before, it's easier said in hindsight now. I could see his frustration.
Yeah.
You could tell that his reaction after it. He knew he should have scored. And I don't want to add extra sort of criticism on to him. Maybe I'm too nice, I don't know. But I suppose a player of his caliber and obviously what he's been doing, he should be scoring that, really.
It's like Josh Laurent and Andy Rinamoto. Even if they have a bit of an iffy game, you kind of like, because we expect so much of him now, don't we? And that's exactly what's the really disappointing thing. So I can see where you're coming from there, but all of a sudden we just seemed to stop, and QPR then went on to dominate the game. It's kind of, you said before the recording, just as Puskás came on for João and Semedo came on for Elise, I thought that second substitution was a bit weird, but as soon as that happened, QPR dominated the game. Obviously, the other substitution being just under 10 minutes from the end when Esteves came on for Tom Holmes, and I think a lot of people thought we needed that. I think Holmes looked a bit iffy defensively in some parts today, especially when he got pinned near the end and it nearly led to a QPR goal. That was a scary moment, wasn't
it? Yeah, just a bit. And it's such a shame because he's been absolutely brilliant this year. There's no denying that. He's come into a new position, and he's really sort of made it his own for most of the season anyway. But I think he struggled at times today. I know it's not always obviously easy coming into a new position, but I think obviously with the goal, I thought obviously he had that open space behind him, but he didn't seem 100% himself today. He got a few headers out and when balls did come in, but their attackers seemed to get around him a few times as well. And I think defensively, he's normally better than that.
Yeah, he's got completely skinned for that major QPR chance, and didn't defend as great as we would have wanted to. But Estevez came on, and so I don't think he defended better than Holmes. I don't think he defended very well for the limited amount of time that he was on. There was a couple of chances where, QPR got around the back stick on his side and nearly capitalised on it. So, for me, Estevez didn't do that much better. Pushkas, for me, I thought it was a reasonable substitution by Paunovic to bring on Pushkas because it's kind of harsh for him to have been dropped, but Pushkas didn't have the impact that I would have wanted him to. Not in terms of holding the ball up or anything, really. He just didn't.
He didn't
very much.
He didn't get into the game, did he? Much, to be fair.
Like Zhao in some stages, and it's so disappointing because obviously they're the focal point up top.
Exactly.
But what did you make of the Semedo substitution coming on for Elise? I mean, do you think that was quite weird considering we only had 15, 20 minutes before the international breakdown? I just didn't. I thought it was a bit of a negative substitution. I would have understood if we'd had a couple of more games to play and we'd had like a midweek game, say, before the international break. But I didn't really get it.
Yeah, no, I can see your point there. To be fair, and if I'm honest, I know Elise didn't have his best game today, but I felt when Semedo came on, he didn't really get grasp of the ball either. He wasn't getting the headers that like balls coming over. He was missing headers and that.
He didn't jump in some situations, which I thought was weird. It was like he had toffee stuck to his foot and he just wouldn't get off the ground.
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating.
So it didn't really make any sort of impact at all, if I'm honest.
None of the three really did.
No. That's a shame. Really?
Yeah, massive shame, to be honest. Somehow we managed to kind of see out the result in the end. I've obviously said this at the start. I saw it as 2 points lost. Did you see it as a point gained or 2 points lost this time?
A bit of both, if I'm honest. 2 points dropped because obviously Barnsley had lost, and also Middlesbrough. It would have been quite nice to have a bit of a gap from the teams out, and obviously go level on points with Barnsley and even overtake them on goal difference. A point gained because I know it sounds silly, but it's obviously better than losing. Say if Cardiff lose tonight, that's another game chalked off, and with 3 points away from 7th, I think.
I'm gonna have to double check that one.
I think it's 3 because I think we were 2 points at the beginning, and obviously
Bournemouth played the FA Cup today, didn't they?
They did. They played the FA Cup today, so they've obviously got a game in hand in that respect. I'm not quite sure who they've got as their game in hand, but
they lost today's game though 3-0. So hopefully that gives them a bit of a wobble under Woodgate because they were slating him after midway through that game because I think he went to 5 at the back or something. But I only had a quick look at it, but maybe that gives them that bit of a wobble that we will need. But I'm so frustrated that we have to look at other teams' results. It's like being in a relegation battle again.
I know.
I just if we were doing better, even though we still kind of look at the opposition's results, we wouldn't be looking so intensely at them. And I
No.
think for me, when you start looking at them really intensely, like we have done, you can tell we're in a bit of trouble in terms of our playoff position. And
Yeah.
that's, for me, I think that we dropped 2 points today. And in our last 3 games now, we've got 2 points out of a possible 9. Those are 7 points that could have used to. I'm not expecting us to win all 3 games, but we could have potentially done that and really solidified our place in the playoff zone. Especially with Barnsley hopefully losing today. Last time I checked, they were, and Middlesbrough also losing.
I think full time they did lose, and that I think 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday. So
obviously that's good, but it doesn't give me as much satisfaction as it usually would.
Yeah,
and I think the fact with Nottingham Forest is, I think hadn't we won the 2 games prior to that? I'm not 100% sure. I think we might have won the 2 games prior to that. So no, that's perhaps why I was more optimistic after Nottingham Forest, but today I'm not, and maybe I should be, and maybe I should be thankful that we're still in the playoffs after this amount of time. But it's just such a gutting result, especially. I mean, I guess that's compounded by Zhao's miss, but even so, we should have created more clear-cut chances and put them away at the end of the day. That's nothing. I'm not taking away from QPR because they were decent today, but we should have won. We need to start acting like a top 6 side and take. I've said this so many times: take the game by the scruff of the neck, and we haven't.
Yeah.
We're not looking like a top 6 side.
No,
we did just after the goal, for sure.
Yeah.
But other than that, in the first 3 minutes, but other than that, we didn't. And that's a massive problem for me.
Yeah.
Do you think? Did you think then that we need the international break?
I think it's come at a good time, if I'm honest. And I think because we've got the international break, it's sort of, and we're still in that top 6, as nervy as it is. I think it's definitely come at the right time, and it gives them 2 weeks now, or just under 2 weeks, because it's Good Friday, isn't it? We play again, to sort of look at these injuries that are happening and also work on what's not going right at the minute. Yeah. Yes, we played Wednesday and Saturday, and there's not a lot of time in between, but they can't use that obviously as excuses, and I don't think Paunovic would allow that anyways.
Yeah.
But I think personally it's come at a right time just to sort of steady things down a bit.
I'm hoping that Yeadon will be back. I'm hoping that McIntyre will be back.
Yeah.
John Swift, I'm not optimistic that he will be. I think he might be more mid-April, but we'll have to wait and see.
Maybe on that Morrison,
one. Perhaps. Michael Morrison will be back, I think. So that will be a massive. I think we've missed him a lot. He's an unsung hero in a way. I know that people praise him, but even so, he's absolutely vital. And I think it's just it's emphasised by the fact that we haven't kept a clean sheet now in a couple of games. So it just shows how important that he's really been in that experience and that leadership and that role off the pitch as well, in the dressing room before the game and after the game. So that's it'll be good for him to come back as well. Araruna, I'm not 100% sure. He seemed to have had a setback because he was fit to play not so long ago. So it'll be interesting to see what's happening with him. But he wasn't fit the kind of the latter end of last season either. So that must be a bit of a concern for Paunovic and even the people who kind of recruited him. It must be a bit of a concern. But that's pretty much the game done and dusted. We'll go through our player ratings then. I think Raphael for me, starting at the back, 6. I think there was a couple of moments with Raphael where he bowled the ball out straight to the midfield of the QPR
Yes.
players. His distribution at times was pretty poor, but he did make a couple of good saves. So a 6 for me overall. What are you going to give him?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit lower and 5.5. Basically, because yes, he made some good saves and some important saves, but like you say about the distribution and some of the goal kicks that went either straight out or straight to their players, I felt it's like when the pressure got put on, I think he sort of panicked a bit and he tried to rush it. And yeah, for that I'll do 5.5.
Richards for me, I think he wasn't very effective today, but did he really do that much wrong? I'm not 100% sure. I didn't see anything that he did massively wrong, but I'm going to give him like an average 6, I think, for me.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with that, to be fair. I think, like you say, he didn't do that much wrong. I think he a couple of times sort of let his attacker get through maybe a little bit easier than what he should have done. But I think on the opposite side of it, I think he did do some decent tips and get stuck in a bit as well, so I'll go for a 6 as well.
I think for me, more. Actually, no, we'll do Gibson first because he's left-footed. He's on the left-hand side. Gibson, I think, gets a 6 for me because of some of his cross-field balls they're actually pretty good, and he didn't look. We looked a bit vulnerable defensively at the back, but I think overall, averagely, I think I'm going to give him a 6. Maybe other people will give him lower.
Yeah, I think he had an okay game. He tracked back a few times and got back and sort of got an important foot in it, So I'll probably agree with a 6, to be honest.
More, I'm going to give a 5.5 to today because he made obviously that vital block. Was it block or where he nearly handballed it and then got fouled? So he dealt with that. So I'm going to give him that extra 0.5. But overall, I wasn't overly impressed with him today. Maybe that's because he's got a 20-year-old at right or 21-year-old at right back, a 21-year-old or 20-year-old alongside him, and then he's got another young player, 22, at left back. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh here when he's when he's got so many things people to kind of look after in a way as younger players. But 5.5 for me for Liam Moore. I don't think he was all that kind of commanding. He was part of a defence that probably should have done better and should have looked less shaky to me.
Yeah. If I'm honest, I'll probably go for a 5. I didn't think he had the greatest of games. I didn't think he was at times commanding enough. And like I said earlier on, he was very quiet. And I felt he could have done more, so to speak, to sort of urge the players on a bit. He had obviously decent moments. He got in good, decent positions. Got the goal that wasn't.
It would have picked otherwise, I think, because that was an excellent finish.
It was.
Finish.
So on that positive side, but I think there's a lot of things he could have done better. And I'm no expert on defending, but I think he could have been a bit more sort of demanding more from his sort of defensive partnerships and that, if I'm honest. So
Holmes, I think for me, gets a 5 because obviously he's vital in the fact that he wins headers because obviously he's very tall and that. But he looks a bit uncomfortable at right back at times today. I think you can tell up against the better Championship winger, he's going to struggle a bit because obviously that's not his natural position, and obviously if they're pressing and that. But he did get himself forward a couple of times, but he just wasn't overly effective. And defensively, obviously, it was his side that they targeted and his side where they got the goal.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that as well. Again, they sort of got round him quite, a few times, and obviously, like you say, the goal came from that side, and he didn't have the best of games. He's I've quite liked Holmes this season, and he's done well for us, and he's I think today was just one of those games where he just didn't seem 100% himself. So, again, I'd agree with you with a 5, to be honest. Nothing overly special this game, unfortunately.
I'm going to do Rinomhota and Laurent as a pair today because I think they were both the same rating. I'm going to give them a 6.5. And the reason why they're not a 7, because they did some pretty good stuff in the midfield, but there was times in the first half, and especially near the end there, where I would have wanted them to really take control of the game and in that middle and stop QPR from dominating so much. And that's something that we've got to look into to try and stop if we could. Obviously, Semedo wasn't there today, so it was Rinomhota and Laurent who were there, and I was glad to see them both back, and they were half decent actually, but 6.5 for me today.
Yeah. Sorry. I would give a 7, simply because I felt, I know it's what you sort of expect from them in their positions this season. They've been absolutely amazing. Rinomhota obviously came back off from injury, and started today for the first time since he got injured. I felt they sort of battled to try and get the ball. Okay, not always successful, but I felt they sort of, at times, they wanted to go and get the ball, and track it down and cause their players some like nervy moments and stuff. So that's what sort of puts it up a little bit for me. But my favourite word from last week, it was quite a steady performance from both.
Yeah. Steady eddies in the middle. That's what we need.
Yeah, pretty much. And obviously, I think Rinomhota went on the right side of the diamond, I think, didn't he? Obviously, trying to get down that right-hand side, which I think he did all right doing at times. But pretty steady game and that. So a 7 for me.
Ajaria gets an 8 for me because I thought he was fantastic today, both in terms of winning the ball back earlier on in the game. You could tell straight away that he was hungry for it. He was starting his first game in a while, so got himself in the game, and some of his close control and the way that he brought the ball past defenders, I thought he was fantastic. Man of the match, I think, without doubt for me today. And for me, he gets an 8.
Yeah. I'm going to notch it up to 8.5, but absolutely brilliant today. Got me off on my feet so much. He's pushing forward. He was getting behind defenders. His trickery, and at times they didn't know how to sort of handle him. But I felt absolutely brilliant today, Ajaria. I can't really say too much wrong. On occasion, maybe could have released the ball, but absolutely. In general performance, absolutely fantastic. today.
Yeah. Elise, I'm going to be really badly biased here against him because of his free kicks and his set pieces hitting the first man. I thought they were awful today. Some of them.
Yeah.
There's times where his set pieces are really good. You look at Bristol City away for Zhao's goal. You look at not Blackburn, Birmingham City away, not so low in midweek when he's crossed the ball in for Mate. But some of his the thing is, it wastes good chances when he has poor set pieces, and you could tell in Mick Gooding's voice for one of the set pieces, he was quite angry the fact that at least kept on wasting the chances that we did have, and obviously he's missed the first half chance as well. So 5.5 for me today. Maybe I'm not looking at positives enough, but 5.5. I mean, maybe had some good spells, but some.
If I'm honest, I think I was quite critical about him as well, and I know he's young, and all that, but he's capable of so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And today, I wasn't surprised to see him taken off. I'm going to go for a 5, if I'm honest, sort of right in the middle in that sense. I just didn't think he was on it today. Yeah, maybe little moments and that when he went to track back and got the ball and that, but like you say, set pieces were not very good, hardly beating the first man, which you've got to do to try and cause their defense problems. They just weren't good enough today.
The one thing that I would say, if Swift is not back, which is unlikely to be after the international break, but definitely for the first game anyway, is I'd like to see Ajari and Elise play together again and kind of get that creativity going and that real excitement, because when Elise is on, absolutely, he's an exciting player to watch. So let's hope that he can put in a better performance in the next game, because we know what he can do, and obviously he's only 19, and he's been fantastic for us at times. So fair play to him for what he's doing, but today just wasn't his day.
Yeah.
Mate, what are you going to go with?
I give him a 7.5 for that one. I think he had a very good game. Not everything sort of came off for him, like touches wise and that. I saw one opportunity when the ball got crossed over to him and it sort of went under his foot or something, and it just went out for throw in.
Yeah. Similar happened to Holmes when he miscontrolled it.
Sorry?
Similar happened to Holmes when he miscontrolled it. I don't know what was wrong with that, the pitch on the right hand side, but both of them had a bit of a moment there in like a 5-minute spell.
They did, and it was sort of frustrating and that. But in the second half, you could just tell Mate wanted it, and he wanted to get on the ball, and he actually linked up with Joe quite all right at times in the second half. He kept battling, he got his goal, and I'm so happy to see him back in the team. He always seems to want it. He loves playing for the club, and I think that's partly why a lot of the fans love him, not just like his goals, but for him as a person as well. But on his performance today, I thought
7 for me. I think I'm going to give him a 7 because obviously he was vital in the goal and did a lot of it by himself. It was a good ball by Renamotor, but I thought he was very good in getting past Dickey and putting it through the goalkeeper's leg. So I thought that was very good. Hassled the defenders sufficiently, but it wasn't one. I don't think it's one of those performances where he was absolutely fantastic. But again, he gives us that bit extra.
Yeah.
Without him in the past few games, I don't think we would have got much from them. So we didn't really get much anyway. But he scored the equaliser against Forest. He scored the equaliser against Birmingham. Unfortunately, it didn't really count towards much because we went on to lose. And he scored the equaliser again today. So it just shows how vital he is. So I'm going to give him a 7.
Yeah.
Didn't think it was absolutely vintage display by him, but I thought it was, it was fine. And he got the goal again. And that's, what matters at the end of the day. It's not the result, but it's not the performance, but the result. So 7 for me. Lucas Shaw, what are you going to go with?
I'm going to give him a 6.5. First half performance, like mentioned earlier on, wasn't quite himself. Things weren't sticking to him. He's trying to control it, but things just weren't coming off. Second half, I felt was a bit better.
Yeah.
He seemed to sort of hound some of their defenders a bit, and some decent touches, and his sort of connection with Mate at times was pretty decent. So he didn't get a goal, but I thought performance wise, and in the second half especially, and holding up the ball and bringing others into play, I would definitely give him a 6.5, just like in general.
I'm going to give him a 5.5 or a 6. I think I might go for 5.5 because of that chance. Maybe I'm a bit harsh, but at the end of the day, you want him to be the difference. And at the end of the day, Yaku Mate stepped up and got the goal, and he wasn't able to in the end. Maybe, as I said, we should have created more chances, but I don't know. It's still not the Zhao that we'd seen earlier on in the season, is it? Really,
no.
He's still fine, but I think that he wasn't fantastic today. So I'm going to give him a 5.5. We'll do substitutes quickly. George Puskás gets a 5.5 for me.
Yeah. Didn't see much of him, to be honest. Sadly.
He didn't improve on Lucas Zhao, and I can't give him more than Lucas Zhao because he's basically the same. It just don't think he was.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Yeah. I'd probably give a 5, to be honest. It just wasn't his game today, really. It just didn't seem to make much of an impact, which is a shame because we all know he can.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So, 5 for me. He just didn't jump, did he?
I'm even going to probably drop down to a 3. That might sound harsh, but I just didn't think he did anything.
No.
I felt like, obviously, like you say, he didn't jump for the ball. He didn't get many headers, and even when the ball was on the ground, he just didn't seem to.
You expect him to be one of those players that comes on the pitch and then tries to take the control of the game from midfield.
Yeah.
And you can we're on the back foot. As soon as he came on, we were on the back foot. So I kind of, I wouldn't blame you for giving him a 3. And maybe my 5 is too high, but he didn't spend that long on the pitch. So he gets a 5, but didn't do anything. Estevez for me. Yep.
I was going to say, and I quite like Semedo as a player.
Same.
As we've obviously, discussed in past and all that, but yeah, today just didn't, for me, just didn't really seem to be in the game. So yeah, Estevez.
5 for me. It has to be a 5 because he wasn't fantastic defensively from what I really saw. I mean, he cleared the ball out once and nearly ran away with the ball as well on a separate occasion, but just didn't. I don't know what happened, but he just didn't carry on really. So I think for me, Estevez gets 5. Maybe that's really harsh considering he was only on the pitch for 10 minutes, and maybe I should be giving him a grade, but I didn't think he came on and improved us defensively. And that's what he was kind of brought on to do, because obviously you could tell that Holmes was struggling quite a bit, especially, and he went down as well, Holmes. So, but no, I think for me, 5.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, to be fair. I think he tried at times to sort of get the ball forward a bit. But yeah, defensively seemed a little bit all over the place. And I know he's young, but like you say, he was sort of brought on to obviously take over from Holmes and to do sort of, helping the defense and that. But I felt at times it was just the defense in general at times just seemed very scrappy.
Yeah, I think he's brought on to I think, Paunovic wanted him to kind of improve defensively, but he was also brought on to kind of give us that attacking edge as well, I think. Perhaps in the last couple of minutes, and just didn't really live up to it. But I think for me, it's a competition between Holmes and Semedo probably for the poorest performer today. Obviously, we're not going to do poorest performer because that's not good. But them two today, I think would want to perform better in the future. I think Semedo, especially because he was only on for 20 minutes or so, but just wasn't. This wasn't very good. I mean, as soon as he came on, it's not all his fault, but the game just seemed to turn, and it wasn't fantastic today, I have to say. And usually we would then go on to do a man of the match more positively, but I think we've already made up our mind.
I think so. You can't. Well, I can't personally. I can't look past Ejaria. Like looking at the scores and everything, it sort of tells the story really.
Yeah.
Ejaria was well ahead of anyone really.
Yeah, he nearly created a goal single-handedly when Moore's effort was ruled out for offside, because he was the person who laid it off really for Yakumete, and and he did get down the left-hand side as well once in I think it was the first half, where he managed to get behind their defence, and I think that all that was missing really was an assist or a goal from his performance. I think his performance rating would have shot up even more, but unfortunately he didn't manage to get a goal or that, or a vital assist today that, it would have been so vital to get those 3 points. But that's what happens. And I would say let's review the next game, but we've got an international break coming up. I think we discussed this earlier, but I think it's come at the right time for us. I don't know what will happen after the international break. I think anyone will be brave to predict what happens. I think there's a lot of negativity right now surrounding our position. I kind of get that because we've been too inconsistent. I think we can't let the equaliser mask over the inconsistency at the moment. And I think it's important that we take that on board and improve it for the next 9 or 8 games, because if we can improve our results, then we'll be in that lottery. And then you've got teams like, say, Brentford stay in the playoffs, or Swansea stay in the playoffs, and they've kind of solidified their place in the top 6 a lot more. So they're not going to be as on it. I hope not anyway. If we're in it, they're not going to be on it as much, I don't think, as the teams that finish 5th and 6th, because it will be more of a competition. And you carry that momentum and their lack of momentum into the playoffs. And you're thinking, well, the teams that are 5th and 6th has just as much of a chance of doing something as Reading, as Brentford and Swansea do. And I'm not sure if Blackpool finished 6th in that campaign that they went up. I think it was their promotion season, because they beaten Nottingham Forest, who I think were better than them that season. They beaten Nottingham Forest in the playoff semi-finals. I think it was 2-1 to Blackpool in the first leg, and then they were just fantastic as well in the second leg at the City Ground and secured the victory. And then they come up against Cardiff City, and they're expecting Cardiff to win that, especially when they go, when they take the lead twice through Chopra and I think it was Joe Ledley, and then they've come back and won the playoffs against all odds. And even though they had one season in the Premier League, it was fantastic for their fans. So I think that should be a source of inspiration for us, and that should really drive us on to solidify our place in the playoffs. I still think either way it's going to go down to the wire. Whether we're inside or outside, I think, regardless if we're in or out of the race, I think it will go right down to the wire with teams dropping points everywhere and nerves and teams like Barnsley as well. Even though they lost today, you've got teams like that who can win a set of games and be right up there competing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on that one. But I think we'll leave you for now. Obviously, there won't be an episode next Monday because it's the international break. I hope you guys enjoy the England games. It'll be a bit less pressure for us because I think I have more connection really to Reading than I do to England at the moment. Even though I want England to win the World Cup, I think it's a bit of a break for all of us. So and it's aptly named the international break. So it'll be good for us to see what we can do in training, and then it'll be interesting to see how Reading perform after the after we come back. I mean, how do you think they will perform? I mean, how do you think this break will go? We've said that we've needed it, but do you think it'll be advantageous to us, or do you think it'll be the same with everyone, that everyone will have a chance to kind of relax a bit and I guess be stronger?
Yeah, I think hopefully it will help rejuvenate the team. Having this sort of break. I know some will go off with their international teams, but some will stay and sort of have a training regime and stuff. So I think and hope it will rejuvenate the players, and we can start if we can get a win at Barnsley on Good Friday. That would be obviously fantastic, and going forward a very important win. That's not to say it's going to happen, because obviously it'd be a tough game, but I think hopefully it will be a very productive 2 weeks for them.
I still think we should still see our destiny as being in our own hands. We can't rely on other teams now. We can't say, oh, if only Cardiff, or not Cardiff anymore because they kind of dropped points. They still might get in it, but say, oh, Barnsley got a late winner there, and if it wasn't for Barnsley getting a late winner there, just for example, then we'd be in the playoffs. Well, we've got to look at our own games now. We've got to take charge of our own games, grab the game by the scruff of the neck, as we've been saying multiple times, and I'll keep on saying it until the end of the season, because we need to take control of games. And if we can take control of games and start getting some points on the board again, then hopefully, we can do something this season. Every point will be precious. It does feel like 2 points kind of lost today, and maybe that's a bit contradictory. But if we can get 3 points from some of these upcoming games, then who knows what will happen at the end of the season. You've got to be in it to win it at the end of the day. And as we said, it's a lottery. But that brings this podcast, or this post-match review really of QPR and this podcast to an end. Hope you have a good break over the internationals, David, and not stress too much, because we've been stressing a lot over the past few weeks. It's been a very busy period, but I hope you have a nice rest, and thank you for joining me once again on the podcast.
No problem. Anytime, mate. No worries.
And thank you to you guys as well for watching us, for continuing to watch us. Thank you guys as well for watching the Instagram live on Wednesday night. That was Wednesday night. And I think there's only 1 or 2 midweek games left to go, so there'll probably be only 1 or 2 Insta lives left to go. I'm thinking of doing something at the end of the season, maybe a pre-match live or something like that for the final game of the season, just as a kind of special. But we'll wait and see what happens on that one. I'll talk to Mark about it. But thank you guys for listening once again. Hopefully we can come back after the international break and get some points on the board again, make a fast start. But in the short term, I guess, thank you again for watching, and have a fantastic break. And come on, you R's.